Tonight, we are back with another redraft mock. We are 4 days away from the Hall of Fame game. Oof, I just can't wait. Real football is back. Well, maybe halfway real football. Real players on a real field is back. All of your fantasy home leagues are kicking off and we'll be drafting very, very soon. We are here to help you get a head start. Let's get it. Back to Mocking the Stars here on Club Fantasy FFL. Your co-host, Chris Battistow at FF Chris B over there on Twitter. And of course, you can find me at FantasyJ77. Chris, one of our biggest stars of the year is here. Finally, finally. One of my favorite analysts in the space from FantasyPros, from Betting Pros, Mr. Derek Brown at Dbro_FFB over there on Twitter. Sir, welcome to the show. How are you?
I don't know if I deserve all that praise and puff, but I'm glad to be here, guys. Glad to sit here and draft. And Chris, this is part 2. Is this the second or third show we've done together, man?
I think it's part 2, maybe 3. Losing count, no, but that's a good thing.
I've lost count. Lost count.
That's definitely a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Derek, I know you're out there in Dallas. What's going on with CeeDee Lamb not getting a contract? What's happening?
I mean, I think Dallas is eventually going to pay him, but, we'll see. The funny thing, and I don't know how far he's going to fall in this mock we're going to do tonight, I've been out there in the best ball streets. I've seen him fall, not just past, pick 2. I've been in some best ball drafts lately where he has fallen to the 4th, 5th pick in some, where I think it's getting a little bit overreactionary. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be he's going to be in the huddle week 1. I'm not really worried about that. This is just Lamb doing what he needs to do to leverage, to get the contract, to get paid. Dallas has really just been this is a Jerry Jones thing. Depending on what reports, what things you look at, Jerry Jones just doesn't want to sit there and fork over the cash. He keeps posting oh, well, we got to pay this guy and this guy. Well, guess what? Other teams figure that shit out. So I'm sure that you could figure it out, considering also you own, which is one of the most lucrative franchises in the freaking NFL. So apparently, I think America's team could pay CeeDee Lamb and will eventually pay CeeDee Lamb. But since Jerry Jones does Jerry Jones things, he's going to have to fork over a little more cash than maybe he would have done if he'd gotten this out a little bit earlier in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm having the same feelings about the team up north there in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase. They're going to be forking out a lot more money here.
Another cheapskate owner, too.
Yes. Speaking of cheapskates, there's been a few that weren't cheap. The 2020 QB class got paid $1.2 plus billion between 5 of them. Interesting. J.K. Dobbins said the other day, I do think if I get the volume, I'll be one of the best in the league. What do you make of that, Derek Brown? And what do you think his fantasy value is? I know where you have him ranked.
I'm skeptical at best. And this is me trying to learn things from yesteryear, trying to not fall on the same swords and understand, learn from our mistakes, boys. I know it's crazy, but I'm trying to learn from all the Cam Akers missteps of previous years where I'm just nah, I'm just not buying it, dude. Look, fine. If he comes back, I just don't think we're going to see the same J.K. Dobbins that we saw. And at what point has he shown in his NFL career that he can really stay healthy? So while he's talking about, if I get the volume, I can have a monster year. Bro, if you get the volume, I don't even know if you're going to stay healthy. So good luck with that. I don't care about Dobbins. Don't care about Gus. I'm still going to draft Vidal. I don't care. It's fine.
That's fair. Chris, big J.K. Dobbins guy, I know you are.
I mean, the situation with the Chargers is not that great, and I mean, what do you want him to say when he's getting pitched a question like he got? He's not going to come out and say I'm going to be complete shite this season. They should cut me right now. He's going to talk himself up and say that if he gets the volume, he's going to be the guy. Sure, he's fighting for a roster spot at the end of the day. So as much shares that I have of J.K. Dobbins, I'm only hoping that maybe week 1, week 2, week 3, he's kind of involved in the fold so I can ship away some of those shares.
Yeah, the camp news today was quite interesting. He and Gus Edwards both were taking reps from the one with Justin Herbert. Looks like no Kamani Vidal nowhere in the picture, D-bro. I don't.
It's early. It's early. So
camp news. Let's
No, but I mean, like, for real, guys. Like, let's kind of like flesh this out a little bit. We haven't even gotten into the preseason yet. We are barely, I mean, the inkling of training camp right now. So, like, everybody's like popping off. Like, you see people talking about Deneric Prince. Bro, didn't we learn that freaking lesson last year? Like, come on. Like, the bottom depth chart guys are getting a lot of puff and praise right now. And we're drawing some lines in imaginary, in invisible ink here too, where it's like, bro, let me see what happens. Because guess what? We get into preseason, you get some action, and Vidal like looks like a freaking stud. That depth chart order can change pretty damn quickly. And for everybody that believes in, and no shade here, Chris, but for everybody that believes in J.K. Dobbins, the other side of that coin is the Chargers can cut him, and they're only on the hook for $50,000. So, I'm taking a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt. Now, like, some guys that we're seeing pop off in early camp, like, that's good. But as far as the things of, oh, he's running with the ones or he's running with the twos, some of these things and the rookies are going to take time to climb the depth chart. So just because we're a week into camp and some rookie is not running with the ones or getting the most targets on the damn team, I honestly don't care at this point.
Yeah, and you know, on the Jim Harbaugh team, like you mentioned, the rookies are going to have to earn it. There's no way he's just going to give a rookie. Yeah, exactly.
That's every team. Like, how many coaches go out there and they're going to give the veteran deference
right away, especially at the running back. Yeah.
Go ahead and pull this draft up, get it started here, and we will we'll chat a little bit more about some of this camp news. Derek, you took the 7th spot tonight. When it comes to redraft, what is your favorite spot to start from and why?
I'd say the 3rd spot because I'm all in on Jamar Chase this year, and you can always easily get him in the 3rd spot. Woo! Good Lord. Okay, we're just starting off hot and heavy in this one. Damn, making a statement from the 101 already.
Well, that's Vince. He's from Australia, so everything is upside down there, you know, being down.
Well, I mean, to Vince's credit, CMC's not my RB1 right now, so I don't hate what Vince did.
No, I don't, but it goes against ADP.
Oh, it's massively against the grain, against everybody going to watch this show. They're going to like, never mind. 10 seconds into the mock, and I'm turning it off because CMC didn't go 101.
That's exactly why I had you explain about the camp news and why we don't need to overreact right now. We don't need to overreact to Bijan or CMC not being at the 1.
Yep, I'm not against it, man.
Gaffney 2.
Here we go. Bijan. Watch Bijan be RB1. Okay, I like it. Yeah. Let's say good hello to everybody.
CeeDee Lamb goes at the 104. See?
Yeah. Well, that's your buddy right next to you, Chris Battistow, snagging.
Wasn't going to let him slide.
No,
I agree. I don't think the contract situation's much to do about nothing. Once he gets back into that field, once he gets into the huddle, like you said, week 1, he's going to be there up until week 17, week 18. CeeDee Lamb is going to be the dude. So there's no way I'm letting him slide past me there at the 1-4. And you got Chase, bro.
Somebody gift wrapping me Chase at the 107. I'll take that all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, baby.
So back to this wanting to be in that 3 area for Chase. I guess you don't have to, right? You just got him at 7.
No, and I've seen him fall. I mean, I think where Chase goes, I think in our content bubble and things like that, he's sewn into like a top 3, top 4 pick. But as we're seeing with this mock, I do think in some home leagues and some other venues, like he's going to slip. And I say slip a little bit because to me, if he's not a top 3 pick, top 4 pick, then yes, it is him slipping down the board.
Yeah. Speaking of home leagues, you just touched on it there a little bit. They're right around the corner. We are entering August. Are there any weird quirks that are in your home leagues that you think other leagues should implement?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a quirk, but I don't care. Like, never have a kicker or defense ever in your leagues.
Standard.
Like, I'm sorry, we got enough variance in football in general. I don't want to play positions where it's like there's no rhyme or reason to, oh, he gets 3 points this week. Oh, he gets 20 points this week. No, like, I'm sorry, you don't get kudos and credit for a kicker popping off in a weekend. That is why you won that week. No, I'm sorry. And the same thing for defenses, man. Like, defensive touchdowns are random. Yes, I look, I go through all the matchup data every single week in the primer and stuff like that. But again, want to talk about just variance in general, like, no, those two positions should never be gracing anybody's fantasy lineups.
Yeah, add a couple flex spots, maybe a super flex if you do the 1 QB, get rid of the kickers in the defense. You agree, Gator?
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with not having the kickers, not having defense. If you want to play defense, play IDP.
Yes, agreed.
There you go.
Yeah, yep. Big agree.
Yeah, it's just one of the things like D-Bro said, the touchdowns for defense are one of those quirky things. But if you're playing IDP, right, and then your guy gets the touchdown, that works out perfect. I would much rather take a guy, a linebacker or a DB that's gonna have the chance at an interception and get those points than have it. Well, because I have the Jets defense and they got 5 sacks this week and 2 interceptions.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing I'll say as far as scoring quirks, and maybe this is just the DFS DGen in me, I'm a big fan of give me all the points and stuff like that. So, like, for me, I want to have the bonuses in there, kind of like you're playing with DraftKings, like for 300 yards passing, 100 yards rushing or receiving. Like, to me, I like to play in formats like that because, again, I want to be rewarded when players have big days. And, again, if they have a big day, I want it to be a huge day.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like that.
I like that as well. Couple of people in the chat already. Zion in the chat. Equinox is in the chat. Vince drafting from the 1 spot. Andrea, hello. Albert, hello. Vince going back to the Jerry Jones talk, saying Jerry jokes. And then Zion coming back. Debro, we hit on this pre-show where you said you were putting a couple of the guitars up. Zion wants to know, what guitars does you play?
So I've been playing since college, high school, but I didn't really get the time until college to start playing. But this one is my baby. That's a Schefter Hellraiser. I've got new pickups, new tuners, EMG 8185 set, like the Zach Wild set thrown in there. Usually my favorite brand is a Schecter. I do like some ESPs, really kind of the Gibson, like the double cutaway model, which is what this looks like. But that's really the go-tos.
Love that. And now you were telling us pretty sure that your son is going to be, you're setting up an area for y'all to start playing too. How old is he now?
My son is 14. He's been doing guitar lessons, and School of Rock is a thing down here where they actually have like where they'll play concerts and full band practices, things like that. He's been doing that for the last 3 years, and to be honest, he's getting pretty damn good. He was running through last night. He has a show coming up actually this weekend. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to Flex League in the NYC. Which is the first show that I've actually missed about his. I was really upset about that, but he was playing Come Out and Play by the Offspring and just nailing it the other night, and I was like, holy shit, man! I was like, it's so awesome to see, like, just in general with anything with your kids, it's so awesome to see like them to put in the work and stuff like that, and how far he's come and how much they progress, like whether it's learning a sport, an instrument, anything.
Yeah, especially when it's something that you also enjoy. And then they're just getting that much better than you. And you're like, okay, yeah, now I get to live vicariously through you. Go get it, kid.
Speaking of living vicariously, I got auto drafted because I was too busy talking about guitars. So lovely Josh Allen in the second round.
Well, I mean,
you love me to hate to see that.
I'll pause my pick. You could go ahead. Just don't take my guy, all right, D-Bro?
What did you want?
I mean, I don't. It's whatever, man. I'll look. I'm not much of an early quarterback guy, but it's whatever. I mean, I can make do. So if y'all want me to just take Josh Allen again, I can. You
No, no, no.
can.
Go ahead with whatever. I think. Can you pick it from there?
Yeah, I can. It's
Okay.
all good, man. Yeah, that's on me though. You gotta love auto picking on a show, but I'll take Devon Achane since we'll be kind of rewind here. I'm in on the upside of him.
Zion calling you out, slipping in the old age.
That's right. I got off on a tangent. I started talking about guitars. I mean, if anything, I should have been, into it.
Yes, Zion did that to you on purpose, right? He was like, "Yes, if I can
funny.
distract him, I'm going to distract you."
Hey, get me filibustering, man. That's what happens.
Adam saying, we were all wrong. Jarrett Patterson all day.
Jarrett Patterson couldn't even earn snaps when he was a Commander. I don't know if it's happening for the Chargers.
Yeah. Head charge. It's okay. I'm here over there on Twitch. Appreciate you joining us. I will get to some of the other comments here shortly. Let's read through these first two rounds here. Hopefully, I'll get through it before or after Debro picks this next guy. That way, he can't blame anybody else on another.
I was say that I auto pick somebody else.
Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey to start off. Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs Jonathan Taylor rounds out the first round, wrapping with Jahmyr Gibbs in the second round. Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devon Achane, Kyron Williams, Drake London, Travis Kelce, the first tight end off the board, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, Brandon Ayuk at the 212. Outside of the Devon Achane pick, Chris, anything else surprise you?
The Josh Allen pick was surprising as well, outside of Devon Achane pick, but it was an auto pick. So.
Yeah, they were by the same guy too. So
that's fair. Just set the tone, man. Yeah. Set the tone.
I mean, maybe the Adams pick you could say is a little rich, but he's going to be the guy for the Las Vegas Raiders. But what's the guy for the Las Vegas Raiders going to look like? But other than, I mean, it's tough to say. It's a pretty good first two rounds. If I had to put one on somebody, it would maybe be the Adams pick. You got one, D-Bro?
I mean, this looks pretty good as far as I think how a lot of different drafts are gonna go. I think the Adams pick is a little bit early for me. Like I would have taken Olave, Harrison, London, all of those guys over Adams. But again, I kind of stand opposed to. I mean, really, where everybody's ranking Adams, where he's in ECR. He's a top 10 wide receiver, and I really don't understand that because nothing out of his situation changed, and he was the wide receiver 16. Like, his volume's not going to increase. The quarterback play didn't get any better. This team isn't going to be any more pass heavy. So, like, I think the Adams pick was a perfect call because I just don't understand why we're drafting Adams as high as we are when you can make the case that any one of the receivers behind him are either in better offenses and the target projection for them is not that far off.
You got two guys that I am pretty high on this year, both of them in brand new situations, and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. Your rankings show Saquon Barkley at RB5, Derrick Henry at RB8. In this draft, they went off at 6 and 9, which is very comparable there. My question is, what should I be expecting from these two high-end running backs this year for fantasy?
I mean, I think we're going to expect like middle of the road RB1 numbers. I think Barkley, like, it's tough because you can only rank him so low based off of where his volume is, the talent, and the offense that he's going to be in. Like Saquon, even if he's not prime Saquon, and I'm making sure right now, I'm watching this so I don't get in the middle of the filibuster and auto pick again, okay?
I don't want to cut you off.
No, so, but with Barkley, it's like you can only push him down the board so far because of volume projection, the offense, touchdowns, all of that kind of stuff. And the Eagles are probably going to be a top 5 scoring offense. So I think it's fair where he goes. I don't find myself paying the price. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm probably drafting a wide receiver in that spot over Barkley, but I don't hate his cost. I love Derrick Henry this year. This is one of the first years, honestly, that I've been so much into Derrick Henry, and kind of collaterally similar kind of projection of the older guys that were just like, oh, they're not the sexy name. I'm massively in on Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon this year. Like, I have Joe Mixon ranked above ECR, want to stay there because, like, I don't see either one of these guys falling off. Like, Joe Mixon's going to get all the freaking work. Derrick Henry has not fallen off in any of efficiency metrics that I care about. I think he's still going to be the guy. And the biggest narrative out there that I continually push back against with Derrick Henry specifically is everybody wants to talk about, oh, well, what if when he comes off the field for passing downs? And I'm like, you do all realize that you're attaching that narrative to Derrick Henry when he's only ever been in Tennessee. How can you confidently say that in Baltimore, they're going to give him that same type of workload where it's like, all right, we're in passing downs. You're going to see more Justice Hill. You're going to see somebody else there. It's not going to be Derrick Henry. When it's like, the other thing about it is Derrick Henry's been quietly really damn good in the passing game when he's gotten targets over the last few years. So I'm really in on Derrick Henry. Like, I understand the age. I understand the workload. I understand all of that kind of stuff. But we've been saying all that shit for 2 to 3 years. And Derrick Henry just keeps doing Derrick Henry things.
The season-long prop for him is 10.5. That's where the line is for touchdowns.
I already bet the over. I bet it at plus money when it opened.
Yep.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah, I love that too. Chris, you want the over on that as well?
Yeah, all day I'm taking the over for that. He's going to be the guy for the Baltimore Ravens, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be the guy for the Baltimore Ravens. Even on passing downs, if they're going to be asking a running back to be a pass blocker for Lamar Jackson, you're going to put in Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, guys that are probably half his size. No, you're going to put in Derrick Henry. You're going to keep him in the game. Goal line situations, it's going to be Derrick Henry. First, second down, it's going to be Derrick Henry. Third down, short yardage situations, it's going to be Derrick Henry. So, yeah, 10 plus, easy money.
Yeah, that's kind of where I felt too. Derek, my next question you've pretty much already answered just by the draft you've drafted here. But on the what is it? The New York Giants, whatever the program they have on the
Hard Knocks
right now. What is
the
it?
Hard Knocks? The Hard Knocks, the off-season one or whatever.
They had the offensive or the wide receiver coach in there asking right before the draft who they wanted, and they wanted Malik Neighbors, or he wanted Malik Neighbors. Of course, they were either going to take Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors. If one of them fell to them, they take Malik Neighbors. So you are in on Malik Neighbors, and I'll try to draw this question out a little bit. Okay, you drafted. You're in on Malik Neighbors. What is your expectations of Malik Neighbors this year with Daniel Jones?
He is going to get one metric shit ton of targets. I mean, there's nobody else that's going to get targets there. Like, nobody on that freaking team got over a 16.9% target share last year. Like, he's going to get a ton of targets, man. Like, so for me, you're betting on talent. You're betting on Daniel Jones. Like, everything in the Giants offense and team last year that could have gone wrong did go wrong. And so now everybody's like, well, it's going to happen again this year. But dude, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? What if Daniel Jones is the guy we saw the previous year? What if that happens? What if he comes back and we see a revitalized Giants offense where the offensive line is middle of the road? Daniel Jones is just being a middle of the road quarterback. Like, I'm not even telling you he has to be top 10, top 12, any of those things. Just don't be absolute freaking dog water, and Malik Neighbors is going to be awesome.
Perfect.
165 over under on targets.
I'll take the under, but not by as much as I think people believe. Right now, so I worked the math earlier in the offseason. They threw the ball last year 518 times. If he earns a 25% target share, which is that can definitively happen, we're talking about 130 targets for him this year. That would have tied for top 20 amongst wide receivers. And that's honestly, I don't want to say like that's his floor, but it's pretty damn close to it.
Yeah, especially in that wide receiver room.
Yep. Like, who else is going to earn the targets?
What they called it?
It's not Wandale, not Darius Slayton. I mean, like, Daniel
Bellinger.
characters, man. Like, there's no other high-end target share earner on that entire freaking roster. So, like, if he ain't earning a 25-27% target share, then who the hell is?
Evan Singletary.
I love Singletary too, man. Do you not tease me with Singletary?
Yeah.
I mean,
boys, big year.
He hasn't gone off in this draft yet, but like, I really, really like Singletary. I think it's absolutely blasphemous that in ECR, much of the community has him ranked as an RB3. I really don't understand why, because as much as I love Tyrone Tracy, Singletary is going to be the guy. He's going to be a workhorse unless he's hurt. Like, what are we talking about here? Eric Gray's not coming for the volume. Tyrone Tracy just freaking learned how to play running back, so he's not going to play passing down snaps. Fine, like, I like him as a late round handcuff and stuff, or a dart throw, but nothing more than that. Like, what are we talking about here, man? Like, Singletary's going to push for 250 touches this year. Like, what's going to keep him from doing that, guys?
The only way, nothing. I believe Pickadelphia says he's throwing this stab at you, D-Bro. He said he's got the wide receiver 1 from the Bills, and talking about Dalton Kincaid there. I think that was in reference to your tweet that you put out a few hours ago that Curtis Samuel was the wide receiver 1.
Well, I said the wide receiver 1, not the number 1 pass catcher. Okay, just I was very careful of how I worded that, because I agree. I think Dalton Kincaid is going to lead this team in targets. I think he is going to be their wide receiver 1. And no, I'm not that freaked out about the training camp stuff about Dawson Knox. Oh, wait, he's still on the team. Well, no shit. We all know that. He's still going to play snaps. Oh, okay, we all know that. So what?
Round 3 starts off with Trey McBride, Isaiah Pacheco, Sam Laporta, DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, Josh Allen, the first quarterback off the board, but yet a round plus later than he was originally chosen. Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp ends the 3rd round. Starting the 4th round with Devontae Smith, Mark Andrews, Tank Dell, Josh Jacobs, Dalton Kincaid, Malik Neighbors, Patrick Mahomes, James Cook, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, George Kittle, Stephon Diggs. I do want to go up a little bit the road from the Jets there. We were talking about Buffalo, but I want to talk about James Cook. What do you see coming out of James Cook over this year? They were talking about this on Sunday. Josh and Joel were talking about the Buffalo Bills and the expectations for this year. James Cook was kind of like the backseat guy because of Josh Allen, because of it being more of a passing game, and of course the size of James Cook and not being able to make that goal line thunder, I guess would be the right way to say it. But James Cook, what can we expect out of James Cook in your opinion there, D-Bro?
I think he's just going to be who he is. I'm not. Last year I was enamored with him because of where he was going in drafts and the outlook that I had for him. Now in Joe Brady's offense after he took over as OC, yeah, he was an RB1 in fantasy, but I think he's a fine pick. I think he's a good RB2, but I'm not like rushing or aggressive to pick him anywhere because I like him, but I don't know if he's going to outpace where he goes in drafts, because still, even with Joe Brady, like they kind of proved like they don't want to give the goal line rushes to James Cook. Like maybe he gets that this year, but what if he doesn't, man? Then we're talking about an in between the 20s back, doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, the ceiling's capped. Like, I think he's a fine RB2, but I do worry about him ever actualizing a red zone role.
Yeah, I think one of the big takeaways from me on Sunday's show, if y'all didn't see that, go back and check that out on the YouTube. But one of the big things for me was, I think a lot of people, when James Cook came out of Georgia, people were comparing him to his brother, and he's not his brother.
Oh, hell no. He's not Dalvin.
Not at all.
There's no way in hell. Anybody was doing that was doing doing themselves a disservice. He's not Dalvin Cook.
Well, helmet
No.
scouting, and name scouting kind of thing.
Nameplate scouting. Yeah.
I mean, shit, if we're going to do that kind of crazy shit, like, why don't we just say that Luke McCaffrey is going to change positions and be
Let's
Christian?
go.
Well,
Like,
I
what are you
mean,
talking about?
It's possible. He could be a good running back. He's got great feet work. Okay,
It's actually tested a little bit better than even Christian did in some areas when he came out. So
Josh
Just
said
saying.
Singletary has never been a workworkhorse. He's been a lead back. He's been the lead
Did
back.
you
for
see him
Dayball
last year?
previously. He's
Did
at
you-
least a low-end RB2, but nothing
He's
says about him.
At best, you're talking about the RB20 whenever he was the starter for Houston last year. Do you want to go back even further with Buffalo when he went on the run to cap their season? Josh, I think we're reading from different books here, bud.
He says it's science. Science, bro. It's science.
I like science. I also like math. I like math too.
You like Matthew. Adam says James Cook's gonna pick up some of those vacated targets.
It's possible. I mean, I really look at that entire Bills offense, and I think it's just going to be here. Let me see. Let me make this pick here.
Philadelphia
Say-
says Singletary is a workhorse this year. Great in PPC, late third. And then he comes back. He said he's no Barkley, but it'd be service.
He's not.
No, he's not Barkley. Nobody's asking him to be Barkley.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not going to carry the offense, but they didn't bring him in to carry the offense.
Fletcher says Achan or Derrick Henry. I think you answered that by going Achan.
So I went Achan, and immediately like I'd made that pick because I was kind of on the spot after auto picking like an idiot. And as soon as I made the Achan pick, I looked down the board and somebody took Henry, and I said, "Oh shit, I done messed up. I didn't realize Henry was out there." So yes, in my ranks, I do have Derrick Henry over Achan. Again, if we could go back and fix the wrongs of earlier in the draft, I would have taken Henry over Achan. But again, I think we're looking at similar proposition, not from a volume, but from a ceiling perspective. They're not going to be far apart. If Achan hits his ceiling, it's going to look different than what Derrick Henry does, but the production might be quite similar as far as fantasy points per game.
Philadelphia says he had a choice between Ladd and Hollywood Brown, but he's already set at wide receiver. Which way would you go? I didn't even really look at your rankings as far as Hollywood Brown goes, but I know you had Ladd. Ladd, you had pretty decently ranked.
I would probably go with Ladd. Well, I mean, I'm really not. I'll probably go with Ladd, but to be honest, like there's also other players on the board that I like even more than either one of them. I'm hoping one of them falls back to me here, but we shall see.
Who is it?
We don't want to. You want to? Yeah. Who is?
I'm just gonna say I love sleeper ADP. I love sleeper ADP when we get in these mocks and stuff, and I'm just like. I always find myself having to go down and kind of queue up players because I'm like, where's this guy at? Well, he hasn't been drafted yet. Well, holy shit. No wonder he hasn't been drafted yet because he's way down here.
I've done a couple of best balls with over on RTS Sports. And man.
Oh, my guy got it to me. So now I get to sit here and talk to the table. Why is Watson this low?
You want to talk about ADP and having to scroll down the board to go find somebody? Yeah. It's over there. It's bad.
I don't understand why Christian Watson is this damn low. He should be way higher. Like, he should be a higher, like, in this, probably the 6th round tier.
All right,
I mean,
D-Bro,
don't agree with me,
I normally don't do that when do this when we are doing a 1 QB or even a super flex redraft. But Tyler hops in with a big $20 here.
Oh, let's go. Super chats, baby. You gotta love it. Let's go. Dynasty bring all the super chats in. Pay these boys. Come on.
Dynasty
pay for these questions. Let's go.
11 PPR, 0.75 tight end premium, 1 point per carry. Allen, Russ, Fields, Monty, Aaron Jones, AJB, Waddle, Hollywood, McBride, Keenan Allen, Chase Brown, Nick Chubb, Palmer, Hubbard, and Wandell. Inbox offer sent. Wandell for 25 first. Get Caleb, Marb, and Bryce Young.
Oof.
That's
Okay.
a big boy
Waddle,
trade.
425 firsts. It's a heavy one.
Marvin Harrison, Bryce
That
Young,
is
Caleb
all right.
Williams.
So
two.
the way that I'll look at that is so Caleb and Marv are probably worth 2 firsts apiece.
Okay.
So really, to me, this looks like Waddle versus Bryce Young. Like I like the Waddle side of this. So for me, I want the Bryce Young part upgraded if I'm going to make that trade. If I'm going to send you that damn haul of 4 firsts, then I need an extra kicker over Bryce Young. Like you're paying up, like basically. So in a vacuum, I understand why it's that aggressive, because to pry both of those players from somebody's hands, you're going to have to overpay. I just kind of quibble about like this is just a tad too much for an overpay, because I'm just not in on Bryce Young at all. I just look at him as like just lame duck. Like, so for me, I'd be kind of curious, Tyler, like what else you could get thrown in besides Bryce Young. If you can get a better piece out of Bryce Young, or like lop off one of the first, maybe just counter with Waddle and 3 firsts and see if you can get it done that way. Because I'm just not high on Bryce Young, but I don't think it's as far off a value as maybe it looks on paper.
Chris, anything to add?
No, I think it's perfect. He's got Allen, Russ, and Fields. So if you can, like Debro said, if you can get Bryce Young out of there, take off a first or something else, definitely see if you can make that deal. He's got Waddle, Hollywood Brown, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, and Wandale. Swapping out Waddle for Marv is a win. Adding Caleb Williams to your quarterback room is another win. So yeah, I don't hate that advice at all.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would look at trying to do here, especially since you have Allen and Russ in the fields, adding Caleb, you don't need to add Bryce Young here. I'm looking at your running back room. You got Monty and Aaron Jones, and I'm like, okay, and then of course Chase Brown. Can we change out Bryce Young since you're giving up 4 firsts and Waddle? That's essentially,
or take out Waddle and put in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be another easy counter to do.
I think that AJ Brown too. I missed that.
Yeah,
AJ Brown there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much there, Tyler, for the super chat. Hopefully we got you covered there, and you can go dominate that league.
People need to toss in some more super chats. We can answer these live. I mean, come on, man, pay these boys. They're working hard on the YouTube, man. Come on, let's go.
Yes, and it's great time since Debra brought that up to remind everybody, get your ass off of Twitter and come over to YouTube.
Yes,
hit
sir.
that like, hit that subscribe. We are on our way. We just hit 1,100. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers over there on YouTube very, very quickly. And we can only do that with y'all. So we appreciate that. He said this team is a rebuilder.
Oh, Tyler, just counter with take out Bryce and add May. That's another way you can go. I would not be against that either. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say there. You take out, still get Caleb Marv and May.
Yep.
I would actually swap both of them. I would put Hollywood in there in 4 first for Caleb, Marv, and May. That's how I would roll that one out. So
there you go.
I'll send Gator a platypus. No, you send me Rodrigo. I want the cacti. I want the cacti from down under. Vince, appreciate that. He has no RBs. Yeah, I would just go with exactly what Debro and I were talking about there. Swap out Waddle for Hollywood, swap Bryce out for May, and go that route.
I mean, the thing about an offer like that is, who the hell else is this rebuilding team going to go knock on the door? And how many teams you can name? He's probably the only team in his dynasty league that has 4 freaking firsts. So it's like, as a rebuilding team, you almost want to toss it back to them and be like, fine, you know what? Go knock on another door. Have at it. Who the hell else are you going to find that has as much youth equity and picks that I can offer you? Nobody. So have fun.
Yeah, and it's an expedited rebuild. You're not waiting until 2025 first in order to cash in some of those picks, and you don't know what those picks are going to be if you do hold on to them. So you're expediting your rebuild by bringing in 30 3 top 5 picks in this year's Superflex rookie drafts in Williams, Harrison, and May. So you're already speeding things up there. I like it. I like it.
He says himself and the other manager are the ones that have all of the first. So
okay. Well, you want to own the entire first round,
yep.
then pay up for it. So
pay up for it. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Here you go.
You want to own the entire first round? Well, come on, you got to pay for it.
Philadelphia wants to know, Debro, how likely is it for us to mock with you on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard? He'd like to cook you there as well.
Bring the smoke, baby. You asked it on a perfect day. It's Mock Draft Monday, man. You get signed up to the Fantasy Pros Discord. Get up in there. You can draft him against me all you want.
I love
Just
that.
make sure you don't choke on the smoke, okay?
Debro, you drafted Kyron Williams earlier in this particular draft. If you're doing that in your redrafts, are you making Blake Corum a priority in the later rounds?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I'm not much of a handcuff my own running back kind of guy. Like for me, I want to take running backs. I want to take other handcuffs on other teams. I don't usually, maybe in a dynasty format, I might go that route, but in redraft, I don't usually go down that road.
I asked this question. I've got a sleeper chat that we do a lot of our mock stuff with over there. And of course, so I asked the question, anybody got questions for Debro, drop them in, whatever. And of course they do. And they ask questions that normally I would just blow over, but like Vince, who is drafting out of the 101, wants to know, did the cricket episode of Bluey make you cry like it did for him in Australia?
Dude. So the funny part about this is I was actually wearing a Bluey shirt earlier today. If anybody goes to YouTube and they pull up, I just dropped a video today on YouTube for Fantasy Pros. It's 8 rookies that can win your league for you. I was wearing a Bluey shirt in that video. Dude, there is the wedding episode. I shit you not. There have been nights where my kids are watching in the living room and I've heard it from while I'm working in my office. And I start tearing up while I'm in my office. I'm like, God damn it. Like, why? I've yelled out to them, like, turn it off. Like, it's bad, dude. I love Bluey so much, but I will ugly cry during a Bluey episode. No doubt. I mean, when I'm talking like snot flowing, eyes are just red. Like, I'm like, oh, it's bad. So bad, dude. So bad.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
I love that cartoon so much, though, because as a parent, like, you're watching stuff with your kids. There's so much, like, unstated jokes. Like, they have certain episodes where, like, the parents are hungover after New Year's Eve and stuff. They're laying on the couch and the kids are playing. Like, they don't come out and say it, but there's so many, like, adult, like, tiny little nuggets in the writing where you're like, holy shit, that's so funny. Duarte, good pick. Good pick.
Philadelphia says, don't worry, he's going to wear his mask. On a side note, that comeback was strong. Oh, my Lord. Here we go. Derek, I wanted to get a few thoughts.
You don't want to finish that one, Gator?
No. We don't need to talk politics when we are doing a mock draft. That's what we do. Get a couple of your thoughts on some of these players and their value for 2024. We kind of touched on it with that trade with Tyler there. Drake May, you have right now at QB 32 in your rankings. Reported that Jacoby Brissett, of course, is taking all the team reps. May came out and said they will start me when I am ready. I got to do everything I can do to get ready.
Yep.
Are you taking Drake May this year in redraft?
Not outside of best ball. No, I'm not. I think that there's a very real chance that the Patriots outperform a lot of people's expectations. I think there's a very real chance that the Patriots are like an 8 or 9 win team. I have already bet this. I would be betting this if you have not already. I would be betting Gerard Mayo, his numbers for head coach of the year. I think that if the Patriots end up being like a 9 win team, like the narrative kind of writes itself. Like they're in the wild card hunt. all the way down to the end of the season and stuff. Like, I think like that's a definitive possibility. And if all of that stuff happens, I think there's a world we live in where Jacoby Brissett starts most of the year, maybe all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's this year's Geno Smith. I just don't think that people realize how freaking good Jacoby Brissett has been when he's gotten starting opportunities in the last few years.
Chris, what's your take on Drake May?
I like him as a prospect, like him as a future asset for the New England Patriots. For fantasy, same kind of thing. But like Debro said, man, redraft. I'm just not going to make it a point to draft him. Just watch what the Patriots are going to do throughout the season and go from there. Debro, with Jacoby Brissett poised to be the starter for the Patriots, we know how high you are on Javon Baker. Who's the wide receiver one to take out of that Patriots wide receiver room?
I mean, as far as like absolute and total upside, I think it's Baker. As far as projectability and starting and stuff right now, I think it's Pop Douglas. And I knew you were probably just about to draft him, Chris, which you did. Smart man. I mean, I think looking at right now what we know, I think that if we're going to flip over the cards and say, okay, how does this season for the Patriots pan out? I think when it's all said and done, I think Javon Baker and Pop Douglas are fighting for the target lead on this team.
Yeah,
and I know people love Jalen Polk, and I know Kendrick Bourne is still there and stuff like that. Like, I think that we're going to start off the year where it's Bourne, Polk, and Pop probably starting and playing as far as their starting 3 wide receivers. I think Baker is just an eventuality. He's a freaking stud, man. I've loved him ever since I turned on his freaking film during the prospect season, man. So I think eventually he is going to earn starting reps on this team. But I love Pop. I think like he's a good combination of floor and ceiling. Like, what do we see out of him last year, guys? Like, he was legit a wide receiver 3 every single week. And he would have been more if he ever scored any freaking touchdowns, but that offense was terrible. I just look at the Patriots this year, and I feel like it's kind of like the Patriots and the Giants are 2 teams where the stink has gone too far as we are burying this team way too much. Jacoby Brissett can play better than people give him credit for, and I think that offense is going to be better than people give it credit for.
Yeah, I think you brought up best ball a couple of times tonight. I think there's a sneaky plays in best ball. Everybody leaves off with the Pop Douglas, especially with Jacoby Brissett. That's going to be a sneaky team, and I don't believe their schedule is that hard this year either. Somebody else I wanted to bring up, he went 8-12 here. You have him as wide receiver 34, but that's Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yep. That was one of the guys when we were talking about earlier about a sleeper ADP that I don't understand. JSN's one of them.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people are still worried that Tyler Lockett's still going to be that wide receiver too. In my opinion, this is the year that JSN either takes over that wide receiver 2 spot, or it's not going to happen for him. Come out last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, he was the Marvin Harrison of that draft class. The possibilities of, oh my God, this guy's going to be so good. And then he's still a wide receiver. We know wide receivers, especially when it comes to fantasy, usually take that first half of the first year at least in order to pop off. Not everybody is going to be, that Marvin Harrison or what we expect Marvin Harrison to be come week 1. He's not going to supplant DK Metcalf.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. No.
But with Ryan Grubb now being the OC there, he's bringing over a 3 wide receiver set on just about every single play.
Yep.
So we're looking at JSN is now going to get a lot of time on the field.
I think the context that I want to give people out there about JSN is Shane Waldron it's such a good pick. Damn it. I had sent it was at the top of my queue in a tight end premium here. I just think that we're missing the context of everybody that's not as in on JSN. I think we're missing the context of how bad Shane Waldron miscast this guy's skill set and him as a player. I think there's so many parts or pieces of last season. And I was waiting until I was on the clock here. And D-Rob, one of the best picks you could make in the final rounds of a draft. But with JSN specifically, if you look at how he was utilized last season, Shane Waldron could not have effed that up any worse than he did. I mean, he neutered him into basically Seattle's Malachi Corley. It was absolute blasphemy. You took a player which the highlights of his game were his route running and his ability as a tactician, and you said we're going to turn him into a low A dot run out to the catch guy. Like, what the shit are we doing here, man? Like, also on top of that, like, legit, like, JSN was top 10 in screen targets last year and screen rate. So basically, he was out there just running little hitches, like running like turnarounds. Like, that's all he was doing. And it's like, did you just like not understand the player that you drafted if you're going to put him into that type of role? Like, if anybody on that team, why didn't you put Tyler Lockett into a role like that? Because JSN is not a guy that should be ever asked to be in that type of role. Not to say that he can't create after the catch, but that's not his special sauce, man. And when we saw JSN last year put on the outside and he ran a more traditional route tree or just played the perimeter, all of his numbers looked awesome. He was top 15 in both yards per route run and target per route run rate. So this wasn't a JSN problem. This was a Shane Waldron lost his damn mind problem. He basically went to the Luke Getsy school and said, here, I'm going to do some dumb shit. Hold my beer.
I love that take, and I'm all in on JSN this year. I think this is the year that JSN breaks.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's another year older, and his metrics have been dwindling down every single year. New coaching staff, they have no allegiances to Tyler Lockett and saying, well, you're Tyler Lockett, you've been here for forever, you're going to get your targets and your veteran deference. No, this coaching staff has no reason to do that.
Philadelphia had a question in the chat, in the group chat, and then of course he put it in here as well. But in a tight end premium superflex, scoring 6 points for passing TD, tight end premium is 1.25 plus a half point for a first down.
Okay.
12-team league. How heavy should you target both quarterbacks and tight ends?
I
He's
think
been
there's
mocking for all his first 4 rounds have all been tight end quarterback, but then he bumps in, then he gets bit, and he at all the other positions.
I think, and so that's kind of where I lean into it. You know your league better than I know your league, and that is one of those one of the spots where it's like, okay, you're making all of these other positions premium by bumping up the amount of points you get for passing touchdowns, as well as making tight end premium. If people go ham for those positions and they kind of neglect the other positions, then maybe you catch falling value with some other ones. So like this is kind of one of those things where I'm going to see what the room is doing, and then either and some of this depends on where you're drafting from too. Are you starting the run? Are you in the middle of the run? Are you trying to reach on a player because you don't want to get caught outside of the run? So in that type of format, I'm more likely to just try to be liquid and say, okay, considering, and some of this is also when you're in the draft rooms and stuff, if you have the ability to log into your league beforehand, you can see, like, you set up a league on Sleeper, okay? You have all these specific scoring formats. You could log into the league early and say, okay, how does this play out from how much do I need to value them versus other positions? And so without looking at that off the top of my head, I think for me in that type of format, I'm going to kind of just be liquid and kind of see what the room is doing. Some of that depends on where I'm drafting from. Am I starting the run? Am I not? Because the thing is, you don't want to get caught chasing lesser players because you're trying to play to a certain format whenever you're going to bypass other positions and other players that honestly, if you're looking at the 1-for-1 comparison in fantasy points per game, there might be other guys that are left on the board, but you're sitting there saying, well, shit, I got to get a quarterback or I got to get a tight end. I think in a vacuum, I would look, just because it is a super flex format, I'm more likely to probably draft a quarterback in round 1 and then see what the board is when it comes back around to me. If there is a difference maker elite tight end, I have no problem taking them. I also have no problem taking tight ends if they are that high in scoring in that particular format, taking them over some other wide receivers. But again, that all comes down to who's on the board and how do they stack up in the scoring versus other players.
I think this is where instead of drafting with ADP, you draft with tiers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're drafting in tiers and you're chasing the RB whatever, but you have him in tier 3, but there is a tier 2 wide receiver sitting there, go get the tier 2 wide receiver and don't chase that tier 5 wide receiver when you get comes back around. I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah, and I think the other part about it like also comes down to, you know, what's the build of your team? How risk averse are you? How much are you willing to lean into not only format but upside and stuff? You know, so I mean, there's a lot to chew on there, and I feel like I'm kind of talking out both sides of my mouth. But when you get into these particular scoring niches of certain leagues, this is kind of how I feel about keeper stuff. And people are always like, "Well, keeper and auction, there's just not enough content out there." And I'm like, yeah, because all your freaking leagues are so damn different, and every team is drafted so different. Like, I can't write a keeper article and it's going to fit the mold for every one of these specific keeper leagues that are out there, or auction leagues. Like, people are like, well, what about my auction league? Well, yeah, but your auction league is different and your budget's different than another league, or you're also got keepers in that. So like, shit, like that's these niche leagues. The best thing I can tell anybody is if you have these specific questions about format and things like that, hop into the Fantasy Pros Discord, hop into a Discord of a brand and people that you trust. And then you can ask these more detailed questions whenever either you're prepping up for your draft or shit, when you're live on the clock in the draft. Like, tag somebody, you know, because that's the best way that somebody can give you detailed format specific answers and not just kind of be blowing smoke out their butt. Or the other thing I'd say is use the draft wizard on Fantasy Pros. You can sync your team. You can sync your league. You can see based off of that how teams have drafted, and when you're doing mocks, you can get the best picture based off of that using the draft wizard and Fantasy Pros. And I'm not just plugging this because, I work with Fantasy Pros. Like, legit, that shit is game changer.
Vince in here just causing hell in the chat here. He says, thanks for the draft legends. I'll take my prize. Now I accept cash, check, good stamps, travel tokens, and pogs. And then he goes, and then this is where you know he's bullshit, because
Vince, I'm gonna pay your ass in cold cash, okay?
Yeah.
You'll like it too.
I do want to close it out here shortly, but I did want to ask about a couple other guys. Chris and I threw a list together. I'll let Chris start. Which guy do you want to pick off this list, Chris?
Yeah, just a couple deeper options that Gator and I kind of like this year. We wanted to get just your brief opinion on them and where you are at with them for the fantasy football season. The first one I'm going to throw out to you, Romeo Doubs. I know you're a Christian Watson guy. You think Christian Watson should be higher up on the list, but Romeo Doubs, currently wide receiver 66. Play a little game of too high or too low with Romeo Doubs.
I think Romeo Doubs is fine. That's what I was cackling about. I saw Zion put that in there, and I started laughing. I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you, Chris. I was laughing at the damn comment. That got me. That got me right in the feels, dude. That was funny. I think Doubs is fine where he goes. Now, my problem with Doubs is he lives off of touchdowns. The efficiency has not been there. It's never been a part of his game. You look at all of his metrics, target earning ability, yards per route run, it's not great. But if you look at his role in the Green Bay offense, I think there's a certain amount of value. I just don't find myself drafting a lot of Romeo Doubs because while I think he does have value in fantasy and there is a place like for him in fantasy and people need to be drafting him, my struggle with Romeo Doubs is I don't envision, it's hard for me to see the upside. It's hard for me to see with Romeo Doubs based off of everything that I've thrown out there. It's hard for me to see with Romeo Doubs, like even with injuries and things happen, where I can look at Romeo Dobbs and in my mind's eye and say, okay, if everything breaks right for him, can he be a wide receiver 2? Can he be a wide receiver 3? I don't see that. So while I think he's appropriately priced in drafts and things like that, like I don't find myself drafting much of him because it's hard for me to envision a true like ceiling outcome where I get burned if I don't draft him.
Yeah. He saw a decent amount of targets last year, but like you said, very touchdown dependent.
He's
only
always
had the
been
one
touchdown
game.
dependent.
Yeah.
Like it's always
Only
been a
had-
ton of end zone targets, ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. Only had the one game where he broke over 100 yards. Most of his games were 30 yards, 18 yards, 36 yards. So yeah, I think you're right. Romeo Dobbs is appropriately priced. Gator, you got one?
Yeah, I just being a homer here, I wanted to look at you have Jalen McMillan ranked at 78 overall. And listen, rookie going into a situation where yes, you've got a dominant one in Mike Evans, a very solid 2 with what? Oh my lord, can't even think of
Godwin.
Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin, and then
Trey Palmer.
No, Trey Palmer. It looks like Jalen is going to be taking over for Trey Palmer, though.
He will. He will.
It looks like it's already happened in the first week. So, just wanted to get your feel, your thoughts on how you feel Jalen Miller is going to fit into the Tampa offense and any viability in redraft this year.
I don't think he has viability outside of, the deepest of flex league plays. Flex plays on a weekly basis. That's why I have him ranked so low. Is you want to, again, we're going to go back to parsing through this class as prospects and what were our thoughts. I know the hype was real for this wide receiver class, and I looked at this class the way that I looked at this class. I had obviously like my favorites of players in this class, and I thought it was a very strong class. But again, doing your own work, having your own opinions, and some of mine vary from consensus. Like I was much higher on Baker and Jermaine Burton in this class than I was on somebody like Jalen McMillan or Jalen Polk. I just wasn't high on them because when I watched their film and I looked at them as prospects, they weren't the way that I evaluate prospects. Neither one of them were screaming values, or I just thought they were just to be awesome. I felt like a lot of extra praise got heaped their way because of Michael Penix and that overall offense and Washington's offense just in general. Because if you look at McMillan's prospect profile, tell me if any of these numbers just scream that he's going to be a monster stud for you guys. Like over the last 2 years, this is his ranks in yards per route run, receiving grade, and yak per reception. 68th, 144th, 67th, 66th, 56th, 126th. Like that's out of all FBS wide receivers with at least 50 targets in both of those sample sizes. Those aren't good numbers. And they're also...
All right, bro, you got to go. Bye.
Yeah. I feel like this draft class and these prospects, it was a lot of, this is going to be a class that's going to test a lot of evaluations and how people evaluate prospects. And so for me, I leaned on my process, and I have certain guys that I liked above consensus, and McMillan just wasn't one of those guys. So, like, I think this offense is, and I think Cade Otton is just a run-of-the-mill jag. Like, he's the uglier brother of Jake Ferguson. Like, so I think that this offense is still going to heavily run through Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And I just don't think there's enough, like, not that there's not enough meat on the bone left for another third guy. I just don't think that there's another person in this offense that's talented enough to draw a 20-25% target share.
No, I can agree with that. I think there's and you and I can go all night about him. I think there was some issues in Washington with his injuries and things like that. But I also...
Yeah, I agree with that.
I also can see him being on the outside opposite of Evans, with Godwin now moving to the inside. And there may be some options there. Again, probably not for this year. I think you're probably right there. It's not going to happen this year. Maybe
I'll say this, though, Jay. I do stand opposed from the NFL community in the sense that I don't think that we should be living in a world where Jalen Polk went ahead of Jalen McMillan in the NFL draft. I'll say that. I think that if you look at those two guys, I think McMillan is the better player, not Polk.
And I will 100% agree with you there.
I think the Patriots, like I've said this ever since they made their draft class. I hated their draft, but I would have loved their draft and I would have graded them higher if they would have taken Javon Baker in the second and Jalen Polk in the fourth. There's no way in hell that I would have ever drafted Jalen Polk in the second. I didn't have a second round grade on him.
I think Bill Belichick, the dog, was still scouting. So,
dude, I considering that Bill is out of that room and everything now, I really think it's either somebody. I think it's somebody calling the shots because their draft still looked ugly and weird, and you're just like, what the hell are y'all doing? To me, I think it's somebody I think it's somebody in that front office, not named Robert Kraft. I think it's somebody like that's pulling the strings still because their draft class still looked weird as hell to me.
Chris, you got one more?
Yeah, I got one more. Deep value target, tight end, currently ranked going tight end 28, Mike Gesicki from the Cincinnati Bengals, 21 career NFL touchdown receptions, 19 of them being in the red zone, looking to be that red zone target on a team that could possibly throw the ball 600 times. Are you in or out on Mike Gesicki this season?
Okay, I'm going to give you some context here. If you would have asked me this question a week ago, I would have told you I was more in on Gesicki than I am now. The fact that Eric All has been cleared to practice, and he's going to get ramped up earlier than maybe most people, including myself, because I didn't think he was going to get cleared this early. I thought Eric All was probably going to start on the pup. I looked at him as probably like really they're going to take their time. Maybe he's a end of the season guy. I think Eric All, as soon as he's ready, is going to push Gesicki for snaps immediately. So I'm much lower on Gesicki than I was previously after that news. I think that you're still going to probably get some streamability with him in the early part of the season, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to... Honestly, looking at that room now and throwing Eric All into the other characters that they have in that room, I really kind of wonder, is Mike Gesicki even going to see like a 40% route per dropback, man? Like, because he's not going to be out there. They're going to have Drew Sample or somebody else on the field when it's blocking time. So Gesicki, when he's out there, he's going to get targets, but I just worry, is he only going to be a part-time player? Or, like they go into 12 personnel, but he's really the slot. So really they're kind of in 11, but they're not. So I really kind of worry about what his playing time just in general is going to be now.
So at best, a deep best ball target. In the case that he does get used in the end zone like he has been in his NFL career, he scores 2 touchdowns. That's when he'll cash out for you. But as a redraft target, you're most likely
I'll avoid him.
From Mikey G.
I like if I'm going to wait that late for a tight end and redraft, give me Ben Sinnott all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Give me even somebody like talking about like, why are we not higher on this player? Give me freaking Jonnu Smith. Like, I don't understand why people have him ranked as low as they have him. Like, okay, after Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, who the hell is it going to be? Odell is right now like not even taking snaps in practice. Like, so that Miami's been screaming for a third option to step up on that passing attack. And on a per route basis, Jonnu Smith was still really stinking good last year. So if I'm going to wait on tight ends, there's just a lot of other targets and players that I can envision either playing time or upside or a smattering of the both over Gesicki.
I like it. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed to Club Fantasy FFL here on YouTube, go fix that right now. We are on the way to 2,000 subscribers. Monday, we got Miking with the Stars right here, 10 p.m. Tuesday is Masterclass, one of the best ball shows at 8:30. Wednesday morning, Who's Your Caddy of the Golf DFS at 9 a.m. No Punt Intended, the flagship show at 7 on Wednesday. Trade Blocked at 8 on Thursday. Mock Girl Summer, another mock draft show we've got going at 10 p.m. on Thursday. Mock It Like It's Hot on Friday at 8. Summer School, the other best ball shows at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. Dynasty After Party is on Sunday at 11 a.m. Big thank you to Debro for joining us tonight. Let our viewers know, not that they don't already, let them know where to find you, what you got going on, and where they can find these BS rankings that you have these guys.
Okay, if I had McMillan as a wide receiver 4, would you have said the same thing, Jay? Like, real talk.
Probably not. No, I love your rankings.
Man.
I was looking at him. I was like, damn, D bro, why you gotta have my guy so low? But it's true. Why you gotta be so?
I mean, look, everybody, look, I will say one thing. People disagree with me about rankings, about all the different things, like about my process. I'm going to stick by my process.
Absolutely.
It's just, look, if you're willing to do the homework and stuff like that, everybody should be willing to stick by their own process, how they're evaluating players, how they're looking at situations. The other thing I will say about my rankings, yes, I rank guys aggressively, because the thing about it is I want people, if they're using my rankings, to be drafting players that I'm high on. Anybody that does rankings should want that. If you want vanilla rankings that just go with consensus, fine, just draft off of ECR. Have fun. That's cool. You can do that. No shade at you. But as far as the content and stuff, yeah, I mean, you can find me on any social platform, @Debro_FFB. Everything and all things is at FantasyPros. Yeah, we're popping off stuff in the Discord daily. Again, mock draft Mondays are always popping off. So myself, everybody else at FantasyPros, we hop in the Discord, do mock drafts with all the subs there. As far as content things, my top 150 players is live right now. So I wrote up the entire 150 players, the top 150 in my rankings. When it's all said and done, that's probably going to get pushed out to a top 200 before week 1. As well as our draft kit is live at fantasypros.com. So fantasypros.com/kit. Yeah, all the things and stuff, guys. I mean, look, we're barreling towards football, man.
Yeah, we are.
I'm so freaking happy. Like, when I woke up today, I was like, holy crap, we get football this week, man. Like, and I know we were kind of like shading it a little bit at the top of this show, but I'm excited. Preseason DFS and betting preseason props. I mean, that's the Lord's work, man. I'm always out there, and if you're willing to do the work, and again, hit up in the Discord for Betting Pros. I'm going to be in there dropping all of my props and stuff that I'm hitting as we go through preseason. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to make some easy cash.
Now, tell the people, you and I met in, virtually. We haven't met in person, but we met. How I met you was through something you do on Sleep or on Twitter. Is Spaces coming back?
Oh yeah, Spaces is back. I did one last Friday.
Okay,
I will not be doing them for the next 2 weeks, but that's only because the next 2 weeks in a row. One this upcoming Friday, I will be in New York City drafting for Jake Seeley's Flex Leagues. Me, Joey P, Andrew Erickson, we're gonna be up there. I'm going to stay at the Joey P Casa this weekend, so good Lord, pray for my liver.
Are y'all going to make it to the draft?
Oh, we will make it. Now, I'm not telling you that we're not going to stay up shooting the shit and playing Madden until 3 a.m. because we did that last time and talking shit to each other half the time, but we will make it to the draft. But next 2 weeks, I will not have Spaces on Friday because, Flex League is one of those, and anybody that's coming out to the Fantasy Football Expo, we will be rolling very deep. A lot of the Fantasy Pros crew is coming, myself included. But after that, yeah, man, every Friday I'm going to be on Spaces. I love doing those. And the powers that be at Fantasy Pros are always like, good Lord, like you were on there for 2 hours talking ball with people. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, to me, I think it's a blessing that any of us get to do this either as a hobby or as a job, and no bullshit. And this is not me just blowing smoke or cliches here. I am immensely grateful to anybody that supports my content, that supports anything we do at Fantasy Pros, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have this as a job. So to me, doing Spaces and stuff like that is just a wonderful thing, man. I love talking ball with people, love just BSing with people. And I stay on there and I try to answer every single question. And sometimes that's an hour, sometimes that's 2.5 hours, but I don't take any of this for granted. So if anybody's out there, follow the main Fantasy Pros account. I'll be in there on Fridays. The time may vary here or there depending on what my Fridays look like, but I will be there and I try to get to everybody's questions, man.
Chris B, let the good people know what you got going on.
Man, you got me following all that? Come on, Gator, man. That's not fair.
I mean,
I FF Chris B on Twitter. Monday nights here with Gator J on Club FFL, mocking with the stars. And just before this, Fantasy and Frames, 1 Foot Down, college fantasy football podcast, man.
Love it.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out all the shows here on Club Fantasy. I told you about a minute ago, as well as all of our written work over on clubfantasyffl.com. That's a wrap, fellas. I greatly appreciate you, D-Bro. Absolute fun.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is a blast. Just anytime, any place, just say when.
Absolutely. Until next week, as Chris says, toodles.